Hi, this is the video for Daf Kaf Tet of Masechet Ketubot for Daf Shevui. We are starting a new chapter now, the third chapter of Masechet Ketubot, and I wanted to use this opportunity to talk a little bit of a preview about what the chapter really is all about. First of all, the main topic of the Mishnayot of the chapter are two cases that come up in the Torah, one in Devarim 22 and the other one in Exodus, book of Shemot 22, that the rabbis consider the cases of the ones, the rapist, and the mefata, the seducer. Both of these people, one who forces a virgin girl to sleep with him, to have sex with him, and the other one who seduces a virgin girl to sleep with him, both of them deal with a fine that the rapist or seducer has to pay to the father. Now, I want to reiterate something that I have basically said many times, but it is worth reiteration. These halachot are very theoretical in the world of Chazal, the world of the rabbis. They are much more dealing with issues of exegesis and legal principles, how they understand the Torah, and they have little, if anything, I believe, to do with real life. I know, again, as I've said many times, this comes as a bit shocking to people, but I believe that the Talmud many times, not all the time, but many times should be looked at more as a work of legal philosophy and not a practical handbook as to how to live one's life. Of course, there are points where legal philosophy and practical issues of how to live one's life come together, but I don't think this chapter is particularly one of those issues. The fourth chapter and the fifth chapter, as you will see when we get to them, become much more realistic. So hang on there if you prefer the practical stuff. And again, about the issue of rape. The rabbis are talking about it, again, in a very theoretical sense. They do not condone rape. They do not believe that the rapist should go free. As a matter of fact, I could go on about how they really toughen up the laws against rape that are in there in the Torah. But it is a sensitive subject, and I realize that for some people it is hard to read about it or talk about it, but it is the subject of this chapter, and I will be writing about it in my commentary on the chapter. It is basically unavoidable. The other issue that this chapter deals with very extensively, much of the first even 10 dapim of the chapter or so deal with, is a principle called in Aramaic kimle b'derabamine. Give him the worse of the two punishments. And this is something you may have seen occasionally in the Mishnah, and it'll be prominent right here, right off the bat in the first Mishnah, that if a person does one crime for which they are obligated two punishments, say the death penalty and a fine, they only get the worse of the two punishments. So, taking the case of rape or seduction, if a man rapes or seduces a woman for whom he is liable the death penalty for sleeping with her, such as mother or daughter, he only gets the death penalty. Well, it can't be his mother because she's not a virgin, but let's say his daughter. He only gets the death penalty and he doesn't pay the fine. Now, if, according to our Mishnah, he rapes or seduces a woman for whom he is liable karet, which is another biblical punishment, sometimes translated as extirpation, whatever that means, he gets both of them. That's what our Mishnah says, that he gets karet and the fine for having raped or seduced a virgin. Okay, so to summarize, the principle of you get the worse of two punishments applies, according to our Mishnah, to death and the fine, but not to karet and the fine. And our Gemara will be talking a lot about issues of Shabbat transgressions, asking the question a lot, first of all, what crimes go under this category of get the worst of the two punishments? And even more importantly, when do we consider something one action? And when do we consider it two actions such that you would get both penalties? And that is really a principle that the Gemara finds fascinating. The rabbis were very interested in, and we will be talking a lot about it over the next few dapim.